Velma Mae Cole was born on the longest day of the year, June 21st, 1931, during the Depression years to Levi and Velma Cole. She had an older sister named Eva and a younger brother nicknamed Bud. I am her daughter, Laura Lynn, and this is a true account of my mom's life. Sort of. The family began to attend Glad Tidings on Cordova Street in an upper room behind Woodward's. She attended Queen Alexandra School on Broadway and Clark Drive, and thereafter Grandview Commercial High School. During these years, she knew she had a call and destiny to do something extraordinary with her life. She liked typing a lot, so she began her career at the BC Journal of Commerce, where she recorded all the real estate sales from the Vancouver courthouse. She dressed very well, hoping to find a good husband one day. After 8 years of working, attending Bible school, playing the piano, doing lots of crafts, and preaching at the Skid Row Mission, Mom was asked if she would consider going to Abbotsford, where Dorothy Williams and Kay Gordon had started some meetings. Mom, of course, said yes. Her brother Bud and his wife Auntie Margaret had Mark, Cherry, Les, and Sean. One evening, when Mom attended Glad Tidings on Cambie Street, Pastor Reg Lazell asked to see her right after the service. She was immediately concerned that she had done something wrong. With fear and trepidation, she spoke with him. He asked her to go to Kenya with Dorothy Williams to find a way to get into Uganda. Before Mom knew what her mouth had said, she replied, "Yes, I will go." The church threw a party and gave them a money tree so they could buy hair dye and mascara for the journey. On January 18, 1959, the ladies headed to Africa, stopping in Israel along the way. In December of 1960, Mom and Dorothy went to Uganda, where God did a mighty work in establishing the Yemulungi churches. After 4.5 years, they came home for their first furlough. A most amazing development took place. Mom became smitten with a young missionary man named David Freeman. He was a dashing, debonair gentleman who refused to let her out of a plane he was flying until she accepted his proposal of marriage. With Mark and Cherry Cole as her ring bearers and her sister Eva and Dorothy Williams as her bridesmaids, her father Levi Cole gave her away. Maureen Gillardy married them on February 28, 1964. With Mom in her beautiful gown, Pastor Gillardy prayed that they would save the world. Then an awkward kiss, and they headed straight back to Africa. Mom had to do some fast explaining to everyone about who the new white guy was who liked to kill snakes. David Freeman became a tremendous asset to Mom, as she didn't know the first thing about construction. He quickly rummaged through some junkyards and engineered a machine that made blocks to build the new church in Masaka. During this time, she was devastated to hear that her only brother Bud had been in a tragic accident which claimed his life. At hearing this news, she was unable to breathe and grieved deeply for the loss of her brother. She couldn't come home to Vancouver to attend his funeral and found herself intensely upset for a season of time. Dad and Mom continued the work that God had called them to do, and it wasn't long before the gleam in Dad's eye produced a beautiful baby girl named Laura Lynn. That's me. I was dedicated to God in the capital city of Kampala by Pastor Hugh Lazell, who called me Roarin' Laura. And as my parents soon discovered, I had one tiny flaw. I had a very big mouth. Then my baby brother was born. I had an irrational fear that he was my parents' favorite. I would love to leave him in the sun or drown him in our swimming pool. But mostly, I would just turn my back and pretend that he didn't exist. But eventually, I realized he was kind of lovable, so I decided to let him live. Our life growing up in Uganda was an amazing experience. My parents gave us the gift of seeing lives changed by the power of Jesus, and it seeded deep into my heart. Mom and Dad baptized many people and traveled to remote villages. Hugh and Audrey Lazelle, Lou and Marion Peterson, Walter and Valerie Veronese, Jean and John Lovestrom, Bill and Gerda Brown, Dorothy Williams, Eleanor Webb, Reg Lazelle, and many others built a work that has lasted in Uganda to this day. In a fiercely fought coup, Idi Amin seized control of Uganda's political terrain in 1971. He came to be known as the Butcher of Uganda. For 8 years, he took the Pearl of Africa and acted on his murderous agenda. This gorgeous land lay captive to his every vile desire. In the end, it is estimated that he cost the lives of up to 500,000 of his fellow men. Late one night in 1973, my father was taken from our home by Secret Service soldiers. Our family was given 72 hours to leave. Just a couple of months prior, Dad had witnessed the murder of the mayor of Masaka, Wallace Gembe, by Major Malia Mungu of the Ugandan Army, just a few blocks from our home. Times were bad, and our season in this glorious country was brought to a sudden and painful end. There was nothing more we could do for those we loved so much. After returning to Vancouver, within a few months, Pastor Gallardi asked Dad if they would go up to the high Arctic to Tuktoyaktuk, a desolate and lonely land with no trees, huge snowdrifts, and no running water. Dad told Mom that she didn't have to answer right away, but he was leaving in a week, so she better decide fast. Once again, Mom and Dad said, "Yes, we'll go." Mom called herself Corningware, from the oven to the freezer without cracking. So our family ended up in Tuktoyaktuk for 3 years, in the Arctic Circle above the tree line, in the land of raw fish and muktuk. It was a very cold place, and we felt like we had gone from the oven to the freezer. The Freemans were embraced by the Inuit people, except for me, who looked like an albino and got chased home from school. Mom and Dad returned to Vancouver in enough time to celebrate Mom's parents' 50th wedding anniversary, see their extended family grow to include many spouses and grandchildren. God had indeed blessed this family. Jeffrey turned out to be the good child. No wonder he was always Mom's favorite. He married a wonderful girl named Elaine, and they have 3 beautiful children. I took my big mouth and turned it into a career on TV. I also finally married the right man, James Michael Thompson, who has completed our family, and God has redeemed the years that were stolen.
God has blessed the work tremendously, and now we have a church that seats 2,500 people. We have 3 services on Sunday morning. I thank the Lord that the grace of God has really been upon the congregation. God has a purpose for this work. This is not man's work. If it was, it would have stood the test of time. 50 years later, there's still fruit that is blossoming out of the seeds that were sown by these faithful men and women of God. We are thankful that we had wonderful teachers, founding pastors that laid a strong foundation, that were faithful and gave us a good example, men of integrity, and that helped to build a church that will last the times and will be able to grow over the years and really impact the entire nation. We don't have enough words to thank the pioneer missionaries. There is a way in which God truly sent these men and women of God. This was not a man's work. Truly, this was God working supernaturally, and every one of them was specially sent to work in this nation, because wherever they went, there's something significant that was done. There's fruit to this very day. 50 years later, there's still fruit that is blossoming out of the seeds that were sown by these faithful men and women of God. This thing has a beginning, and God used men and women that were faithful and put their lives on the line and poured into this part of the world.
Your life has been an example of what God can do through one woman who dares to say yes over and over again. Your legacy and heritage will honor your children and your children's children for generations to come. Thank you, Mommy, for being the most amazing example of a godly woman. We love you and cherish the days we've had to see you live out God's plan.